Hello and welcome to part 12 of installing a Linux system, which is part of the programming for the web system. I want to just recap a little bit about file permissions, because this is where most people have a problem with Linux, and it's something that you really do need to understand. So, the permissions, you can think of them, you've got the Octal permissions, which are the numbers going, there are 8 of them from 0 to 7, and then you have the letter representation for each one. So 1 is execute, 2 is write, 3 is write and execute, 4 is write, 4 is read, 5 is read and execute, 6 is read and write, and 7 is read, write, and execute. Okay? And depending on what the permission is on the file depends on what the people can do with it. Now, also remember that only the owner and root can change the permissions. Nobody else can change the permissions. Only owner and root. So if you're not the owner and you don't have permission, you can't change it, you can't see it, you can't read it, or you can't write it, or you can't execute it. Okay. Now, one of the big problems that people make is they think, well, we'll just make everything 777. Well, that allows everybody in the world and his wife, to change the file. This is basically how Windows is set up, and this is why there's so many problems with viruses, Trojans, and people deleting things that they shouldn't do. Okay, so consequently, it's a good idea to make sure that your file permissions are correct. Here are some common permissions. I'll go through them. These are ones that you'll see more frequently. There are others. I'm not going to say these are the only ones. These are some of the more common ones. Where it's just yourself, okay, and you don't want anybody else to access the file, then you would set it to 700. This allows you to read, this allows you to write, this allows you to execute if it is an executable file. Excuse me. But nobody else can see it, read it, write it, or execute it. Not the group, or not the world and his wife. A more common one is 744. This is where you have full rights of read, write, and execute, but everybody else can only read it. You'll find 755 on files which are executable files, especially on the web and that type of thing. This allows you to read and write and execute, and it allows the group to read and execute, and the world and their wife to read and execute. Okay, and then you have 750. Now, this is one I would recommend that you set for most of your own files which aren't, for example, HTML files, that type of thing. So your home directory is probably better set to 750 rather than 755. Okay, one or two of the directories within your home directory, especially some of the hidden ones, will probably need to be set to 755, but on the whole, for security reasons, it's probably a good idea to set your directories in your home directory to 750. Now, what I see quite often is people saying, right, okay, I need access to this file, I need full access to this file, I'm going to give it 777. That means everybody has full access to that file. They can do what they like with it. So if somebody gets on the computer, they can change it, they can update it, they can delete it, they can do anything they like with it. So it can cause you some real headaches. So unless there is a really valid reason don't set 777 on any directory. Okay, it's bad. As to files themselves, these are non-executable files, so these are just files you normally read, text files, that type of thing. If it's just for you, again, 600 is a good one. Nobody else can do anything with it. They can't read it, they can't list it, they can't see it, they can't see what's inside it. Okay. If you want others to be able to look at the file, then 644, that allows you to read and write it, but everybody else can just read it. If you want the group to be able to read and write, then that's 664. So you and the group can read and write, everybody else can read it. If you want to protect files so that they can't be overwritten, then you can actually use the 440. This allows you to read it and the group to read it, but nobody can write to it. And of course the world and the wife can't actually see what's inside the file. And if it's a private file to you that you don't want overwritten, you can set it to 400, and this allows you to read it, but you can't write to it, so you can't change it. The group can't see what's inside it, and nor can world and his wife. So file permissions are very important, okay? And it's one of the things that people get really wrong. Ownership is the other problem that we have, and this crops up quite a lot when you've installed a program and all of a sudden you're doing something on the program, you come to save and it says access denied, and it's to do with who actually owns the files that you're trying to write to. So we'll have a look at that next time. That's it for today. My name's John, and thank you very much